So Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford is a no-go. The fight is off. You guys can forget about it for now. Or was it ever even really a fight? But everybody's talking about it. We got official report from Ring Magazine saying that the fight fell through. Negotiations are not going to continue for Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez. And honestly, guys, I always tell you guys, it's not real until these guys are there fight week. They're facing off. We see the fight posters. They have posts on social media about the fight. That's when I start to kind of take it seriously. This was a fight where it's like, yeah, we'll see if it happens. Because honestly, as much as I respect Turki Al-Sheikh for making all these big fights happen, they're not easy fights to make happen. And the ones that aren't easy to make, those are the ones where you kind of say, is it really going to happen when it's involving huge stars and huge amounts of money? Who knows if these fights are actually going to take place? That's why I'm not surprised about the news of Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez no longer being official, no longer being on as a fight. Because honestly, these guys are very wishy-washy. I talk about it a lot. Maybe this is a juvenile, reference and analogy, but I always say, like, Terence Crawford going for Canelo Alvarez, it's like chasing the most popular girl in school, right? Like everybody wants that fight. Everybody wants Canelo Alvarez, and Terence Crawford is banking on it because he knows that this is a big fight and he'd make a lot of money doing it. But Canelo has other options. He has other fighters that he could deal with. He might take Jake Paul instead of Terence Crawford because honestly, he might make more money fighting Jake Paul as opposed to Bud Crawford, and it's an easier fight. It's an easier night at the office. So if you're Canelo Alvarez and you're thinking from a business perspective, why would I go with Terence Crawford when I could get Jake Paul for an easier fight and a bigger payday? So why not go in that direction? I think that's what is happening here. We're hearing talks about Canelo Alvarez and Jake Paul. You guys know I don't love that fight, but obviously it's going to get a lot of eyeballs from the casual fans who just know Jake Paul's name and they want to see him either get knocked out or they want to see him potentially pull off the biggest win of Jake Paul's boxing career in the history of the sport. So it would just be another McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather, except maybe not as high level, because honestly, at least Conor McGregor, he was trained in the area of striking as opposed to Jake Paul, who's kind of just getting on the scene of boxing. You could say 4 to 5 years is a lot, but for guys that have been doing it their whole lives, Jake Paul isn't going to be able to make up for that in time for a guy like Canelo Alvarez. And, I like Terence Crawford. You guys know that I'm a big fan of his. I just can't really, justify it because ultimately, people are saying, I feel bad for Terence Crawford. How could you feel bad for Bud Crawford when ultimately there are still other fights that he could take? He could take a Boots Ennis. That's the big fight that he should have been fighting in the first place. And, for Boots to still be waiting there and Terence Crawford has no, plan on entertaining it until maybe now because Canelo Alvarez doesn't seem to want to, fight Terence Crawford, is probably going to go in the direction of Jake Paul. That leaves Terence Crawford with the option of either retirement or going back to fight a guy like Boots. And honestly, is the Boots fight worth it? Because he's honestly not going to make a lot of money in comparison to the Canelo fight, and it's a high-risk fight for Bud. That's honestly how it is. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Terence Crawford retire. I know he told a lot of people behind closed doors that he would either want to fight Canelo Alvarez, and if he can't get that fight, he might just end up hanging them up and calling it a career. And I wouldn't be mad at him, but this is the kind of stuff that happens when you chase the cash cow of the sport. He has other options. He could go, go on and take easier fights, and I think that's what he's gonna do. Especially if it's Jake Paul, then we're definitely, getting confirmation that Canelo doesn't really care about being on your pound for pound list. He doesn't care about being the greatest of all time. He doesn't care about his legacy within, the minds of purist boxing fans. He just wants to make big fights happen for, the lowest risk possible in these fights. And fighting a guy like Jake Paul doesn't get him any respect in the boxing world, but it gets him a lot of respect in his bank account. So you can see where his priorities are, but it's not the fight that, us boxing fans really want to see him in. We want to see Canelo fighting Benavidez, or if he's not fighting Benavidez, then fight Crawford. But if he's going for Jake, then we kind of know what his intentions are, and that's just to make a lot of money in the sport. But Terence Crawford, Canelo, no more. Done deal. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next Nabs Boxing video. Peace.